Hey guys, welcome to another video. The short answer to this question is not very much at all. But this is YouTube, so I do need to drag this out for a little bit longer. You guys haven't seen too much of the Tesla lately, and in that time it's now 1 year old. I've just been trying to think back, how much has this actually cost to run? Because I've had to spend a fair amount of money on the CLA 45 over there, especially in recent months, whereas this, it's just kind of been sat there quietly in the background. I think you guys can already predict that the running costs for the Tesla Model S are quite low, but I think you'll be surprised at just how low. So let's get into it. I suppose the first thing to consider after a year of ownership is servicing. This has recently been serviced. However, the service was actually free of charge by Tesla. Ordinarily it's about £500-600 I think off the top of my head, but they actually waived the fee for the first service on this due to another incident that probably requires a video in itself to explain. Another, however, though, is Tesla don't require you to actually service this car if you don't want to, and this only had a service because depending on how you've bought the car, whether you've leased it or financed it over a period of years through a business or along those lines, some of those companies require you to carry out like an annual service, just as part of the lease or finance conditions. But otherwise, yeah, Tesla don't actually care whether you service the car or not. And the reason for that is, well, first off, there are no oil changes to make. There's no engine in this car, it's just an electric motor. In a sense, there are no real moving parts like you'd find in a normal combustion engine. If you don't already know, Teslas have something called regen braking. What that means is every time you kind of come off the accelerator pedal, the electric motors spin in reverse, and that acts to recharge the batteries. Also what that does, it feels like an added pair of brakes, so you find that you rarely actually use the brake pedal itself. You kind of just use it for the last literally 5 meters just to come to a stop. So naturally, if the pads aren't being used that much, they're not going to wear down as much. In terms of tyres as well, this hasn't had any tyres on it since it was bought. It's not going to need tyres anytime soon. So this is the 75D. The D stands for all-wheel drive. So you've got a motor powering the front wheels and you've got a motor powering the rear wheels. So what that means from a wear and tear point of view is, the front tyres, rear tyres, they're not being overused in an imbalance or anything like that. If we have a look, let's see if we can. There's a fair amount of tread left on the fronts. If we move round to the rear, there's a fair amount left on those as well. Road tax. As of April last year, they did change the rules for this in the UK. Depending on where you are in the world, it could be different. Prior to April of last year, 2017, I'm pretty sure, although don't hold me to it, there was no road tax for electric vehicles. But the change now is that if you've got a car registered after the middle of last year, if the car's list price is over £40,000, there's a flat rate of £300 for the road tax for the year. That kind of thing will vary massively depending on where you are in the world. So yeah, so far, still no costs. things have gone wrong with this car. It's definitely nowhere near perfect. It's gone back to the garage so many times. I think not too long ago the entire steering rack on this Model S had to be changed. But again, the car's within warranty, so it's done as a warranty job. And actually, if anything, Tesla have just given us free stuff. So this is the facelift model, the 2017 Tesla Model S, and recently Tesla announced that if you had a 75D, they would upgrade it to basically the same performance as a Tesla, I think it's the 100 or the 90. It's definitely not, obviously not the P100D standards, but it was a significant power upgrade. Initially we thought this car was eligible for it, and then they kind of told us that it wasn't. And because of the confusion that kind of arose from that, Tesla basically just threw in a 4-year servicing package with this car. So I mean, the cost of that was, I suppose it's between, it's a couple of £1,000. So a substantial amount. I mean, probably would have preferred the power upgrade, but not complaining. I suppose the only real cost with the Tesla Model S is the electricity to actually power the car. And even then, depending on how you do it, you could have avoided paying any electricity costs whatsoever. Again, at the time of buying this car, Tesla did offer free supercharging for life. So I think now they do charge, there's like an annual fee. I think it's somewhere in the region of £1,000, give or take. If we were to just charge it at the superchargers, which are dotted all around the UK, and the world, the supercharger network is just, it literally grows by the week. There'd be zero electricity costs, because you could just charge it up at a supercharger and then bring it back home. However, what we do have at home is a Tesla charger, so I'll bring you to that now. It is in a bit of a state right now. A bird's had a really good go at emptying its bowels all over it. But yeah, we've got one of these Tesla wall chargers. The reason that's there is because it charges quicker than using a home socket. Doesn't charge as quick as a supercharger, obviously, but if you're going to leave the car there overnight, who cares? It'll get you to pretty much 100% overnight. Even then, to actually get this charge from pretty much flat to near full, which would give you a range of about 300 miles, depending on how you drove, £5 in electricity. I'll do a calculation, actually try and work it out for you, and then that's the only real significant cost for running this Model S. It's just the electricity we use to power it. Now, just to kind of emphasize just how low these running costs are, let's go and throw some abuse at my CLA 45. This thing has actually cost me a lot more than I expected to run for a year. Because again, this is now probably a year and a few months old. It's had to go through a set of front tyres, so that was £400. I think even these now, so even those are getting a bit low. This is 4-wheel drive, but it's the Haldex system, so the front tyres do get abused much more. The rears haven't been changed yet, and they probably won't need doing. I'll go through a second set of front tyres before I need to do the rears. So that's £400. Its second service is now booked in. Some oil changes, not too much, but that's, you got an AMG price tag on there. It's over £500. Road tax, a couple of £100. It is still within warranty, so when I've had things go wrong with it, those bits have been done free of charge. And let's not even get into how much this thing has cost me in petrol over the last 12 months. I think I've mentioned it in a previous video, but it's near enough £2,000 on petrol compared to nowhere near that much in the Tesla. But then again, these are two extremely different cars. They serve different purposes. But it's interesting just to kind of compare the day-to-day running costs between the pair of them. Now, obviously, the upfront cost for that is significantly more than that, depending on how you buy it and depending on where you are. I know in some countries, particularly in Scandinavia, the Teslas are absolutely everywhere. Like, every other car is a Tesla. It's crazy. in the UK, we're not really at that stage just yet. Obviously the Model 3 is now here, although not many people have them yet. You know, the running costs between this and the Model 3 aren't going to be too different. If anything, it'll be a bit less. I think I can't remember the price of the Model 3 in the UK, but if it is less than 40k, you know, you'll waive that initial £300 road tax that you have in the UK. Anyway guys, I am freezing to death now, so I am going to sign out, and I shall see you in the next video. As always guys, thanks for watching. Take care.